but the prayer itself will be sinful on that time. Okay. So, any more? Danish, your questions from the group? Present the first one.
So why can't we pick and choose from the four madhabs as all are Ahlul Sunnah?
Why can't we pick and choose from the four mazhabs? Okay. The truth is, regarding the awam, and this is, I don't really want to go into this issue because there are certain scholars having a debate on this issue. That's why I don't want to go into it. But if you want to take our view of it, and that is that a scholar himself can't pick and choose. A scholar himself, meaning a person who's a muqallid, he cannot pick and choose from mazhab because he has decided to take one imam and one principle of the deen. So hence he shouldn't mix and match it. Yes. And just to keep it uniform as well. But like we say, the awam doesn't have a mazhab, but we don't tell that to the awam. The awam don't have a mazhab. They don't follow anyone. They follow the local imam. So whatever fatwa he gives them, they just follow it. But we don't tell that to the awam though, because it just cause the chaos amongst them. Second one.
So is the Jummah prayer valid in office or school? If not, why not? Most Deobandi ulama rule that it's valid. Elaborate on differences of opinion. And if the Sunni position is...
Whoever wrote that question needs to check up on the Deobandi position first. The Deobandi's position is the same as our position, and that is even according to the Deobandis, Iznul Am, open permission to enter Jummah is a condition. Yes? So meaning one of the conditions of Jummah is that there should be general permission for anybody to attend the Jummah. If you stop one person, then Jummah is not valid. So in workplaces, schools and places like this, then do we have open permission? Then the truth is you don't really have open permission. But there is a loophole behind it. There is a loophole behind it, and that is that you establish the Jummah. If someone happens to come and say, I want to do Jummah here, just let him in. Yes? One, two people. Meaning you're not restricting it to a few people. You're allowing people to come, but you don't need to advertise it. Yes? So if one or two people come, then it's fine. But restricted that nobody else has access to this place, then it's not permissible.
Is follow-up question from that if the Sunni position is that it is invalid, what is the state of previously prayed Jummahs? Are they counted as Zuhr or Nawafil, or do we need to repeat Zuhr?
It goes back to was there a restriction of other people attending this or not? If there is a restriction from other people attending the Jummah, then that Jummah is not valid. Zuhr needs to be repeated. That's it.
Trousers should be above your ankles.
Yeah.
Like long, like for work where you have to wear trousers like a bit longer. Do you fold them or can you?
You can fold them, yes.
You fold them?
Yes, fold them.
Like that,
Yeah.
So can
It's
you sock
fashion
them?
these days anyway. Yeah.
It's alright now, because I read somewhere, you know, where you do them, you know, you shouldn't fold them out, so it's like,
Somebody asked me a question, it was a young lad. He said that in one hadith we've read that the Prophet had his lower garment half it of his shin, and in another hadith it was just above the ankles. So how do I do both of them? There's another kid and he said you can. And what he did was he rolled one up, one leg halfway, and the other one he just had it above the ankles. Yes? And he was saying this is fashion as well. But yeah, you can roll it up. You know, and prayer will not be makruh in that time as well. You have to remember this. This is what I follow as well. This is what I give fatwa by as well. That if you wear certain clothes, which are maybe long for you, but throughout the whole of the day, you've had them rolled up, and then you enter prayer, then prayer is permissible at that time, meaning it won't be makruh. But if you specifically roll your trousers up for prayer, then it's makruh. Yes.
or tuck them into your socks or something, is that the same makruh or?
No, that's different.
That's different.
That's different. Tucking them into the socks is completely separate.
So you're allowed to do that? If you
Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Okay.
As long as you don't roll your pants up.
No,
That's fine.
So just,
Yeah, that's fine.
because like when you work, you have to wear trousers a bit,
Yeah.
slightly longer, so some of these tuckums or tuckums.
That's fine. You can do that. You can do that. Tuck them in. Any more questions? Last question we'll take before we start. No questions? Mahboob? The Mahboob? You always have questions.
I always do, yeah, I'm getting prepared.
Huh? Fire away then.
No, nothing.
Nothing as of yet. We'll start inshallah then. We'll start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We'll start with the Aqaid first. Last week we finished off beliefs relating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is permissible for Him, what is possible for Him, and what is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of His attributes. We're moving on to those beliefs which are associated and regarding the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But before I go into it, this is still regarding those things which are possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I.e., it's possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send prophets. Somebody asked the question, can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send and reveal prophets? What's the answer? Yes, He can. That it is permissible for Him and possible for Him to send prophets. So that's why we're looking into this now as well. So first thing is that just as a Muslim should know the essence or something regarding the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is just as necessary to know regarding the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to know what is permissible for the prophets, what is possible and what is impossible for the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what is necessary for the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, just so that we don't deny anything which is an essential of faith in regards to the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. So look at the first Aqidah. The first Aqidah of ours is in regards to the prophets is that every single prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a human. Every single prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a human. Is that right? Yes? When we say that sometimes clearly, then people think that we've left Sunnism. Yes? But the truth is, this is the belief of our Imams. Balki, to deny that the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wasalam, even including our Prophet sallallahu ta'ala wasalam, to deny that he was human is disbelief according to us. If you say that our Prophet was not human, then it takes you out of the fold of Islam. So look at the definition of a prophet. A prophet is a human being. A prophet is a human being who Allah has sent, or who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted revelation to guide people. That is a Nabi. So a prophet is a human being who Allah has granted revelation to guide people. And a Rasul, a messenger, is a human who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent. Who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent. But one thing you have to understand as well is that a Nabi is specific to only humans. Meaning amongst humans you will only find Nabi, prophets. But a Rasul is not specific to humans. Rather, we also find that there were angels which were messengers. Sayyidina Jibreel is a messenger angel. Sayyidina Jibreel is a messenger angel. So from here we understand that it's not specific to humans, but rather other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be messengers. Aqidah number 2. All the Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam were humans, like we said, and men. And they were men. This is the Maturidi view. They were men. Some Ashari said women could be prophets. Yes, but that's refuted by us. So it turns out to be that Anbiya prophets are not jinn. I mean, you won't find any prophets to be amongst the jinn, and you won't find prophets who are women. Who are women. So why not women? Should ask the women this. Why can't a woman be a prophetess? Is that right, Hafsa? That's the word. You're weak? So I expect you lot to say that. In terms of maybe physical strength? Yes. That can be. But a prophet doesn't have to be a leader in that aspect as well. Does he? Does a prophet have to be a leader? No, we find many examples that many Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam were alongside kings as well. So they weren't leaders in that aspect. One issue could be the veil. The women are meant to veil themselves. In the Hanafi mazhab, we have that, even though it's a weak mazhab in the Hanafi mazhab as well, but it's commonly taken by the ulama, and that is that the voice of a lady is also an aura. Not aura as in like the body aura, but aura as in there's something that should be hidden. Yes, but it's not on the same level as hiding the aura of the body. So she's also told to maybe lower her voice as well. Then that's a problem, isn't it? When a prophet is commanded to do tabligh. Now, if a lady had to do tabligh, then it'll become very, very difficult in terms of a prophet. So this is certain things which we have here. Yeah, in our Sharia, yes. Yes. And things like this, where it shows that it becomes a burden for her to actually preach what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given her then. Yes? What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given her. Because if you take that, it comes down to preaching, doesn't it? That she will need another disciple, another maybe a prophetess, to also certify that she is a prophetess. Yes? If you go with that, then you need two of them. But then you also need a man, according to our Sharia. You need two women and one man at the least. But then that's a problem because you're adding a man to the situation. Yes? So then, if you look at it all, whatever you'll get to, it'll come to one conclusion, and that is that the preaching that's been a burden upon her, yes, it affects that. Where she can't openly preach. Where she can't openly preach. And then if you look at the times in which the Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam was sent, then you see also what times they were as well, where women were oppressed. Many women in the times of the Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam by the non-Muslims, people who were doing shirk, then they had certain rituals where they would oppress women, even in the Jewish tradition, and women oppressed in the Jewish tradition. Even till this day, they're still oppressed. What? They can't drive. Yeah, women can't drive, can't
In
they?
London?
Yeah, in London they can't drive. Yeah, that's true.
Stricter Jews, they don't drive.
Yeah, you can't drive and you can't walk on the same footpath as a woman.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's that. But that's also when a lady is in her menses, in a monthly cycle, then the Jews, they totally segregate from them. As in, women cannot even enter the house in the monthly period in the Jewish tradition. Same as the Indians, yes. They cannot. She can't make chapatis. She can't make food. Yes. So for those maybe 10 days that she's in those specific days, she can't do anything. She can't even speak to her husband. Yes. And they have a separate room for her in the back garden. She has to stay. Totally separate from the house. Yes? And this was happening in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but then the Prophet put an end to it. Yes? When Sayyidah Aisha used to be on the monthly cycle, and the ladies around Sayyidah Aisha used to know, and then the Prophet would intentionally tell her to cook food, and then cook with her as well, and eat from what she cooked with her own hand. Yes? Just to put an end to this thing that the Jews had. So sometimes you have to consider these things as well.
Is that where the grandmas get it from, the don't, when women are on the cycle, don't cook with the khatam or something?
Yeah, it's nonsense. Yeah, it's nonsense. Yeah. The Prophet said it clearly that there's only one specific part which is unclean. Yes, not the rest of the body, so to speak, in the apparent sense. Yes. So that's why, since we're on that topic, is when a lady gives birth, yes, and they say she can't get out of the house for 40 days. It's a myth in itself. If you want to take the rest, that's fine. Yes. If somebody had a myth like that, I would take it. Yeah, 40 days, stay at home, do nothing, don't cook, don't do anything. But it's a myth in itself. It's not Islamic tradition. It's actually a Hindu tradition, isn't it? Where they don't go out. They don't let anybody see the baby for 40 days. Yes, they don't take the baby out for 40 days. They don't let another pregnant lady see the baby, on something and so forth like that. If a lady's had a miscarriage, then she can't look at the baby. Yes, these are all Hindu traditions. These are all Hindu traditions. Nothing like that within Islam. A lady, if she's in her nifas, the 40 days, she can go out. She can do whatever she likes. If she's got a job, she can go to a job as well. There's nothing wrong with things like this within the Islamic traditions or within Islam itself. Okay, it's just a Hindu thing. Aqidah number 3. It is not wajib for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send a prophet or a messenger. Is it wajib upon him? Why? Why isn't it wajib upon him? Come on, it should be an easy answer. Nothing is wajib upon him. Nothing is wajib upon him, because then if you say something is wajib on him, as in that he has to do it, other than his attributes, if we say that it is wajib for him to send a prophet, then he's forced. Then he is. Where is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's free will? Where is his mashiyah? Where is his irada? That he can do whatever he likes. Fa'alul lima yuridu. Last time we said, didn't we? That he does as he likes, as he wishes. So where's that? He's been forced to send a prophet. Yes? So that problem arises. Why? Because we had the wrong aqidah then. And that was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being wajib upon him to send a prophet. So the real aqidah is that it's not wajib upon him to send a prophet. But he sends a prophet out of his bounty and out of honor for humans. Just to guide people. For the guidance of people. So it's a bounty and a ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the prophet to come to us. Aqidah number 4. For a Nabi to be a Nabi, revelation is necessary. Wahi is necessary. And that can be without a means, a medium, or without a medium, direct. So it could be direct or indirect. What that means is wahi can either come through an angel or it can come directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet. But regardless of which way is direct or indirect, revelation for a Nabi is necessary. A Nabi will always have revelation. Aqidah number 5. There are many Anbiya alayhimu salatu wa salam who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them the suhuf. Suhuf. Translate as a tablet or parchments. What? Clothes. Scrolls, yes. Or scrolls. They said clothes. Aqidah number 5, it's a long one, we're going through it anyway. There are many Anbiya, many prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who He granted suhuf to. Suhuf with the sword. Suhufi Ibrahim wa Musa. Sabbih isma rabbikal. A'la comes in. It's plural of sahifa. This is plural of sahifa, which is a scroll, a tablet. So many of the Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam had these, but some Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam had heavenly books. Heavenly books. So many Anbiya had scrolls and suhuf, and also some Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam had actual books. Scrolls or tablets are slightly shorter, aren't they? Yes? And books are books, then, aren't they? They're bigger. Maybe there's ahkam in the laws, praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But 4 of these books are well known to us. 4 of these books are well known to us. What are they? Which one, sorry? Quran, first one. Who was that revealed upon? Our Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So that's the first one. Second one? Torah. Who's Torah revealed upon? Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. What else is there? Injil. The Bible. Yes? Who's the Injil revealed upon first? Sayyidina Isa. And then? What was the next one? Zabur. Who's that revealed upon? Sayyidina Dawood. Sayyidina Dawood. So the Torah itself was made up of praise and also ahkam, laws. The Jewish tradition has laws as well, doesn't it? The Zabur was based on praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is it? Palms. Isn't there S in it? Spell like this, isn't it? Is it Psalms, isn't it? The P is S, isn't it? The P silent? Yeah? Psalms. Euro palms. So the Psalms were just praises which were revealed upon Sayyidina Dawood ala nabina wa alayhi salatu wassalam. And then we have the Injil, which was addition to the Torah, wasn't it? Yes? The Bible has all 3 of them in it, doesn't it? It has the Old Testament, it has the Psalms in it, and it also has the Bible itself. Do they call it the New Testament? There's Old Testament, then there's the New Testament. That's the Bible itself then, isn't it? And then there is the Quran. And the Quran, as you know, is a combination of all of these books really. But we'll tell you how later on. The most virtuous of these books is which book? The Quran. It's the Quran. And our Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam is the most virtuous and the most afdal, the best Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in that sense, because of a Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam being the best, the Quran is the best. Because the Prophet is the best, then the Ummah is the best. Yes? Now look, we're going to talk about the Quran. We're not really going to talk about the books, but just the Quran itself. And that is that, are some verses better than other verses? Are they? No? The answer is no, they're not. In terms of the Quran being Quran, each verse of the Quran is Quran and is not better from the other. It's not better from the other. But if you consider sawab, reward, then there'll be a difference in that. There'll be a difference in that. That reading Ayatul Kursi, for example, has a different reward. Reading the whole of Surah Baqarah has a different reward, like protection. Ayatul Kursi has also protection. Reading Surah Yasin, yes, is protection of the heart. Reading Surah Mulk is Surah Waqia is poverty. Surah Mulk is, what's that? Yes, punishment of the grave. Okay. So if you look here, then there's different levels of reward for each verse or each surah of the Quran which the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam has mentioned. By this virtue, by this reward that you get for each and every single verse or each and every single surah, then in that sense, one verse can be higher ranking than the other verse. But in terms of them just being the Quran, then there is no difference. And this is one thing for you to understand as well, that the Sahaba Ikram, same principle applies. The Sahaba Ikram, in terms of being the Sahaba of the Prophet, every single one of them is equal. Yes? So for example, if you look at Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he's a Sahabi. Take a look at Sayyidina Abu Huraira. Is he a Sahabi? Yes, he is a Sahabi. What's the difference? Is there any difference in them being Sahaba? No. Because the definition, if you take one definition of Sahabi, is the person who saw the Prophet, accepted Islam, and also passed away upon Islam. In that definition, Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Sayyidina Abu Huraira are the same. But then you look at their virtue, the rank that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them, the reward that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned regarding them. Okay? So, in that sense, in terms of reward, then we say Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is the most rewarded companion of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. So it's the same principle. The Quran, in terms of just being Quran, every single verse is equal. Just as the Sahaba, in just being Sahaba, are all equal. But in terms of reward, just as one verse can be better than another verse in terms of reward, then some Sahaba are better than other Sahaba in terms of reward. So do you understand that? That was Aqidah 5. Which window's leaking? Is it closed? It should be closed. Is it closed? Have you got a tissue or something over there, Jimmy? A tissue or a cloth? Yeah, to just clean the table. Right at the end. See, yeah? Pass that tissue down to your mum. Aqidah number 6. All heavenly books, when we say heavenly, we mean they're from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all scrolls or tablets, they're all the truth.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة
يا قلبي اجعل أمورنا ناجحة نحن وكل المسلمين. الله يا عظيم أنت العظيم قد همنا وكل أمر همنا يا ربنا بالبقرة وبالرجال رجال العشرة اجعل أمورنا ميسرة نحن وكل المسلمين. الله يا عظيم أنت العظيم قد لمنا أمر عظيم وكل همنا عظيم. الله يا عظيم أنت العظيم قد لمنا أمر عظيم وكل أمر همنا يهون باسمك يا عظيم يهون باسمك يا عظيم يهون باسمك يا عظيم. يا قلبي ثق بالله فهو المعطي المانع وارضى بقضاء الله إنك لله راجع. يا قلبي ثق بالله فهو المعطي المانع وارضى بقضاء الله يا قلبي ثق بالله فهو المعطي المانع وارضى بقضاء الله إنك لله راجع يا قلبي ثق بالله فهو المعطي المانع وارضى بقضاء الله إنك لله راجع ماذا في علم الله ماذا في علم الله والخيرة في الواقع تدبيرك ما يسواش من تدبيري دعني وأنا مالي فيهاش اش عليا مني وأنا مالي فيهاش وأنا مالي فيهاش اش عليا مني اش عليا وأنا عبد مملوك والحاجة مقضية ما في التحقيق اشتوك ربي فانظر ليا وأنا نظري متروك بالأرحم وبالحاش من نطفة صورني من نطفة وحناني في الإنعام نعمة من كل صفة بشراب ونتردم أوصيك بتقوى الله بالسر والإعلان وتيقن أن الله حاضر في كل مكان إذا نفعك الله لا شيء ضرك إنسان صفي
I will carry on. So we said that all heavenly books and all scrolls and tablets that are revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, all of them are the truth. Every single one of them are the truth. So all the Suhuf, the Torah, the Injil, the Zabur, the Quran, every single one of them is the truth. And each one of them is the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whatever has been placed therein, in these books or in these tablets, it is necessary to have faith by them. It's necessary to have faith by them. But then the question arises, doesn't it? Why do we follow the Bible? Why don't we follow the Torah? The Torah? Yes? What we believe is that when the books that were revealed to the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wasalam, the scrolls that were revealed to the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever was in them we accepted. Yes? But the books that remain now have been changed. Therefore, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't promise to protect these books, we have iman by them in an ambiguous way. And that is that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed. But to say specifically that a text within the Bible, we have faith by it, this is not necessary upon us. So we'll believe that the Bible was revealed upon Sayyidina Isa, and whatever was therein is something that we have faith on. And we say it is a speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the book form that we have today has been tampered with, has been changed. And whatever is in that book, we don't have to specifically say that this is the truth. Yes? Or say that we have to have iman by this certain text within the Bible. Do you understand that bit? Is that clear? Yes? So in an ambiguous way we accept it, but in a detailed manner, in a specific matter, then we don't. So we sometimes say this sentence that whatever in the Bible or other previous revealed books, whatever matches the Quran we accept, whatever goes against the Quran we do not accept. But we don't have to do that anyway. Because just a mujmal, a brief aqidah in regards to these books is sufficient for us. Just to say whatever was revealed upon Sayyidina Isa, I accept. Whatever was revealed upon Sayyidina Dawood, I accept. Whatever was revealed upon all the other prophets, we accept. That's sufficient for us. So this was Aqidah number 6. So this is why we say Amantu billahi wa malaikati wa kutubihi wa rusulihi, that I believe in Allah and in all His angels and all His books and all His messengers. This brief Aqidah that we have here is not detailed, is it? We're not saying that I have believed in the Torah, I believe in the Injil and so on and so forth, and maybe other prophets that were there previously that had been given books and tablets. We don't mention them in detail, do we? Yes? But just this brief Aqidah of Kutubihi and in all of his books, this is sufficient for us. It's not necessary to detail every single one of them. But then the question arises that why did we detail 4 of them? Why did we detail the Torah, Injil, Zabur and the Quran? The reason we detailed them because our Prophet ﷺ detailed them. The Quran mentioned these 4. The Quran itself, including the Quran, also mentions the rest 3 as well. So that's why we also detail these. Aqidah number 7. Because this religion is going to last till the Day of Judgment and after the Day of Judgment. Therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to protect His book. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Hijr that Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafizun, that indeed we are the ones who revealed the dhikr, that's the Quran here, and verily indeed we are for it protectors. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that He has protected the Quran. This promise was not made for other books. For other books. So we understand from this, because the religion is forever, Deen Islam is forever, then this Quran is forever. So this Quran now is protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, to make any change in the Quran is impossible. To make any change in the Quran is impossible. What question can you ask upon that? To make any change in the Quran is impossible. You can't make change in the Quran, can't you? You see many apps which have wrong verses written in them. There are many apps which sentences which are not even verses are in it. So is that a change?
That's a mistake, isn't it? Would that be considered a mistake?
Let's say I'm sure there was one that said that's an American Quran app, yes, and they made changes. Now, would this class as a mistake or a change? Let's say the person who made it had the intention of changing it.
That's probably a mistake, isn't it?
Let's say a guy came up and said, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, but then changed it all, put something else in his place. That's a change then, isn't it? Yes? So how does this work then? We just said it's impossible.
The Quran itself, as you said before, it's been created with God's.
Yes. So that can't be changed. But what is represented, remember the word of God can't be changed anyway. So we understand from here that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He protects it, He's not talking about His intrinsic speech. Yes, because that doesn't need protecting, that can't be changed anyway. So He doesn't have to declare that He granted it protection. So we're talking about the written form, aren't we? That which represents his intrinsic speech. So it's impossible. You could just get a pen and change it, can't you? Or what will happen? Your hand won't move.
It won't be accepted though, will it?
There you go.
Preserved.
Yes, it's been preserved by the chests of humans, men and women who fast. You memorize the Quran. Yes. So when somebody does change it, then to the majority of the ummah, they will realize that this has been changed. So in that sense, the Quran is preserved. So here is better to translate as the Hafizun, that he preserves it. He has preserved the Quran. Yes?
Different method of recitation.
Different method of recitation is different to changing the Quran. Okay? They're totally changing, taking a verse out.
No, I said that preserves the Quran.
That preserves the Quran as well. So it's about hearing the Quran.
One of the signs of Qiyamah I heard it was that the writing of the Quran will disappear.
Yes, it is said that the writing of the Quran will disappear, but what it means is the Quran will no longer be amongst people. Yes. It won't be just the case that you're looking at the Quran and there in front of you it starts disappearing. Yes? It won't be like that. It'll be a case where people stop reading the Quran. Stop reading the Quran, a war may break out and nobody's got the Quran with him, and it'll be one of those rare things. Yes? So that's what it refers to. And nobody will have it in their hearts as well. As in they won't have it memorized. So that is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment as well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected it and He has preserved the Quran. To such an extent, if the whole world gathered up, like all of the kuffar gathered up to change the Quran, yes, Muslimin, ulama kiram, awliya kiram will know that the Quran has been changed. Yes? And there will be people, men, who will then let other Muslims know that this Quran has been changed here. The true form was in such and such way. So this is how the Quran has been preserved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas for previous books, this promise was not made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence why certain people could then change. We know regarding the Jews that they would, verses would be revealed to them, and then because they were making money of it, they would rewrite the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that it would fit their own cause and then sell those verses, sell those books. Yes. But the Quran can't be done in this way, can it? Yes? Because if you take a look at the Bible, then they say it's inspired. It is inspired as in by, if you want to call them disciples of Sayyidina Isa or disciples of Jesus, then they were inspired to write them. They were inspired to write them. Now, for them to be inspired to write them and for them to be revealed on a prophet are two different things. Yes? For example, our awliya kiram get inspiration as well. But do they become the Quran? No, it doesn't. Yes? But what those previous people did was they got the inspiration, right or wrong, whichever it is. We're not bothered with that. But what they did, the grave mistake that they made was they added it to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in such a way that you could not differ what was actually given to Sayyidina Isa, for example, and what was given to his disciple. You can't differ between the two. So it just seems to be the word of God. But yet, there's a big difference. What came to a prophet and what came to a normal human being. But the Quran in this sense is protected. Because regardless of what inspiration a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets, it's never the Quran. It can never become the hadith of the Prophet. It's his own book. It's his own book. Do you understand that? But remember this, that if a person intentionally changes the Quran, he's out of the fold of Islam. If he was Muslim, then now he's no longer Muslim.
What if a person says that they need to be changed but it doesn't change them?
What's that, sorry?
A person says that a certain verses need to be changed but he doesn't change them himself.
He says that the verses need to be changed. That it takes him out of the fold of Islam. He's had doubt. or he's had doubt in actually the meaning of the Quran. Yes, and you get a lot of those people actually. Yes, you shouldn't recite such and such verses because it's not the day and time for you to recite such and such verses. You can recite any verse of the Quran. The Quran is not bound to time. Yes, every verse of the Quran is applicable in every time. So if he says that these verses need to be changed, then that takes him out of the fold of Islam as well. Yes? Because we'll have to ask him why it needs to be changed. And then that will take him towards doubt within meaning. That will be the ultimate thing. Doubt in meaning. Then what will happen is that doubt in the verse of the Quran or in the meaning of the Quran takes him out of the fold of Islam.
What about the verses that have been obligated?
The verses that have been abrogated, if the verses that are still in the Quran, yes, we don't use them to derive rulings from, yes, but it's still necessary to have faith by, and we still recite them. We still have to recite them. We can't just omit them from the Quran. Yes, that's only for the Prophet to do. That is only for the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala wasallam to do that. So it's still necessary to believe its meaning, even though you might not apply its meaning because of the second verse. Yes? You might not apply its meaning, but still the wajib necessary for you to believe in what it carries. Any questions on this part so far? No? So you all know the attributes of the Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam. Just to recap, we spoke on what a Nabi is, what the definition of a Nabi is. And we said that a Nabi is a human being who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent revelation to guide people. And a Rasul is similar, but a Rasul is not specific to a human. Meaning angels can be messengers as well. Then we talked about how Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam are neither jinn nor women. And so on and so forth. We said for a Nabi to be a Nabi, revelation has to come. The revelation can be either direct or indirect. We said that many Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam had suhuf, tablets or scrolls, and many had full books. And we mentioned 4 books at the least that we know from the Quran. Yes? And we mentioned who they were revealed to as well. And in amongst that we talked about how every single verse of the Quran is equal in terms of being the Quran. But we told you by reward they can differ. We said that every book and every tabla is the truth. And we have a brief faith by that. As in that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to His messengers, on whatever books He revealed, whatever tabla scrolls He revealed, we have faith by them. But then the difference of how they've been changed, and do we have to have specific faith with them? As in somebody brings a verse to you and says, do you believe in this verse of the Bible? Yes? That's not necessary upon you to do. Yes? That is not necessary upon you to do. So brief faith we have. And then we said that the Quran is protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is preserved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hence it cannot be changed. I.e. that it is preserved. The true form of the Quran will always be amongst us. If somebody tries to change it, then the Ummah of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala wasallam will surely know that it has been changed. Okay. This is where we're going to stop on for this week inshallah ta'ala in the Aqidah lesson. And then we carry on from Aqidah 8. Okay? Because it talks about how the Quran is proof for itself as well. Yes, it's a bit of a lengthy subject. We'll do that next week, inshallah ta'ala. People who interpreted the Quran differently, if it's based upon sound evidence and logical evidence as well, and it's not changing the verse in itself, yes, then it is acceptable. That's the ikhtilaf amongst the ulama. That is the ikhtilaf amongst the ulama. For example, certain words in the Quran and what the actual meaning is. So there might be a word in the Quran, what's its actual meaning? For it might carry 7 or 8 meanings. which one applies in it. With that you can have ikhtilaf amongst the ulama, and that's perfectly fine. But if it's just a person who's doing it from his own whim, from his own desires, then such tafsir will not be accepted, so interpretations will not be accepted from him. Okay. We'll move on to fiqh. Where did we get to in fiqh? What do you remember? Notifications. Did we do half of it? Yeah, start. In fiqh, we're doing the chapter of those things which break wuzu. I'm sure we started it, but it says that there are 12 things which break wuzu. I'm always going to ask you where we are in this book, okay? I've taught this book so many times, and I'm still teaching it to other people as well, and I'm teaching it at 4 or 5 different places. Yeah? So if I do open in the wrong page, I'll start saying something which is not associated to you, just let me know, inshallah. Okay? So I'll always ask in the start of the lesson where we are in the book. 12 things which break the wuzu. He mentions the qiyas of this chapter, okay? The analogy of this chapter, and that is anything that comes out of the two ways. You have to be patient with me now. These are certain subjects, sometimes we have to be really, really careful with them as well. Just in the way we present them to you. Yes? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all the tawfiq to understand. Whatever comes out of the two ways, this breaks your wuzu straight away. Okay? Urination, stool, anything like this breaks your wuzu. If it's just water, any liquids, whatever it is, blood, from the two ways, it breaks your wuzu. For we said anything that comes out of the two ways. Illa rihul qubul, except for the wind that comes out of the front. Okay. If this happens and if this takes place, then this does not break wuzu. If this happens and if this takes place, then this does not break wuzu. More for women, but is also found in men in old age. In old age, where wind can be broken through the front, and this will not break wuzu. Okay, it's an illness in men and it's natural for women. But if it does take place, this does not break wuzu. But anything else will break wuzu. Another thing he mentions is this for women, giving birth without seeing blood. Giving birth without seeing blood. But I'll tell you here, the fatwa that we give is that whenever a lady gives birth, there will be a speck of blood. There will be a speck of blood, which takes her into the state of nifas, postnatal bleeding. So you don't really need to worry about this. Yes, but still, just to mention the importance of salah. This mazhab highlights that how important salah is. That a lady is giving birth, yes, giving birth will break her wuzu. Let's say she didn't see blood, there's no blood, but the process of giving birth has started, but there's no blood. This process breaks the wuzu, yes, but the state of nifas hasn't started, postnatal bleeding has not started, which will mean that salah is still fard upon her. So if it's in a time where namaz is still fard upon her and she's giving birth, then she still has to pray her salah. Okay? And in Munyatul Musalli, it's a book that we also teach as well, he actually writes that the lady, if the baby's head is out and she's giving birth to just the head of the baby, then the lady, if she can do wuzu, she should do wuzu. If she can't, then do tayammum, dig a hole in the ground, place the baby's head in there, sit down and read namaz. Okay? But before it, he says, wa wailah. But rather after it, he says, wa wailah, afsos. Yes? Or in one way you can say, a curse be upon you. A curse be upon you. He's talking to the men really, not the women. He's talking to the men. He says, a curse be upon you that you delay your prayer. You delay your prayer. Meaning, i.e., you don't read it on his mustahab time. Now look how important salah is, that a lady, if you go by this mazhab, a lady who's giving birth, who's close to death, anything can happen, yes? She still has to pray her prayer if she hasn't seen blood. She still has to pray her prayer if she has not seen blood. Yeah? And then there's you, who sat in front of the TV. Yes? And you keep saying, I'll read it in 5 minutes, I'll read it in 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And then what happens? The prayer has been, the mustahab time has gone. Rather, that's what he's saying. He says the mustahab time has finished. So curse be upon you for even missing your mustahab time. Yeah? So just the importance of salah, isn't it? Yes? But practically, we wouldn't really put that upon women. Practically, we can't do that, can we? Yes? The truth is, if there is no blood, then if the lady knows that, if she's in her senses, yes, and she knows that there was no blood while she gave birth, then in that case she can just do qaza later on, and inshallah we hope there will be no sin for her as well. Yes? But, like I said, we give the fatwa by Imam Abu Hanifa's mazhab. And Imam Abu Hanifa's mazhab is that whenever the birth process starts, for the birth process to start, then the water has to break, doesn't it? Yes? Even if it's a small amount, a small speck of blood has to, the water that's within the womb has to slightly, even if it's a speck of it, has to be there. Yes? And that is sufficient for her to come into the state of nifas. Hence, as soon as the birth process starts, we give the fatwa, she's in the state of nifas as well.
Just as soon as the water's break, that's classed as nifas.
Yes, that's classed as nifas. Yes? Or even if you, like, in our modern day, they class the waters breaking as a gush of water coming out. Yes? For us, it's slightly smaller than that. It could be just a drop of blood. And if you've had children, then you'll know that for some ladies, the birth process can start a week early. Yes? By a week early, I mean she gives birth a week later, but the specks of blood, yes, in the morning or in the night, they start to appear. Yes? What they class the birth as going into labor is when the actual baby is now pushing towards coming out. Yes? But whereas we look at it in terms of the state of nifas, we look at it as that as soon as she starts to see the blood, it doesn't happen for all women, it can happen for some women, but it happens. Yes? But if that blood is there, that's it, you're in the state of nifas, and the birth process for in terms of Islam has started. Prayer will not be upon you anymore. Okay. Another thing that breaks wuzu is najasatun sa'ilatun min ghayrihima, for other than the two ways, for impurity to flow out of your body. Meaning from anywhere else other than the two places that we mentioned, anywhere else on the body, if impurities come out of the body, then what happens? Wuzu breaks. But we said it needs to be najasatun sa'ila, it needs to be flowing impurity. What do we mean by flowing impurity? Anybody know? What's flowing impurity? We know what impurity is. How far should it move? A mile? 2 miles?
Even if it's like 1 centimetre, if it's moved from the cup.
1 centimetre. Should it trickle down somewhere? So if you got a cut on your cheek, should it trickle down?
But even if it just
Moves.
If it's not in the same place as that.
Yeah, you're right actually. Let's say this is a wound. Yes? This is your skin. This is the layer of your skin. Okay? You've been cut, blood is rising. If blood is only up to there in the wound itself, then you're fine. Wuzu is not broken. Okay? But if it keeps rising to a point where blood comes on top of your skin, yes? As soon as blood touches this part of the skin, on top, your wuzu is broken. Yes? We don't have to wait for the blood to start trickling down here. Okay? Do you understand that? Do you understand that? That's the Hanafi mazhab. Yes? So if you got a cut and blood touches the top of the skin here, on the edges of the wound, that breaks your wuzu. Yes? For you to say, oh, it needs to come down slightly, yes, maybe a finger length, a fingertip, that's not necessary. This is the Hanafi mazhab, and this is what we class as flowing. Okay. We always get asked the question, is the blood comes to here, and then you dab it, yes, with a tissue, and then blood rises again to the same point, and then you dab it again, yes? If you do that, it'll break your wuzu. Why? Because once you dabbed it and more blood to come from underneath shows that it would have reached to a level where it would have touched the top of the skin. So wuzu will break by that as well.
Is that the same as putting a plaster on the wound as well?
If you put a plaster on, but it blocks it, then it's fine. Then it's fine in that sense. Do you understand that? But if you put a plaster on loose, and then it separates and you see blood, and then it touches it again, then it breaks your wuzu. Yes? So we said impurities, by the way, okay? It's not just down to blood. So you might get kaih. What do we call kaih in English? Pus? Yes? The white thing that comes out of your spots. Okay? This also is impure according to us, and it will break your wuzu. And same principle. Same principle. I was teaching some young lads, about 13, 14 year olds, and I gave them the same diagram, more or less. And he said, Ustadji, what if you pop it and it doesn't touch your skin? Just go straight out. Yeah? If that happens, then it still breaks your wuzu. Yeah? The condition is that it touches your skin, is the thing that is flowing. This is why sa'ila, we didn't say it has to touch your skin, we just made a limit to that, a boundary for that to understand. Yes? But it doesn't literally have to touch it. Yes? If it just comes straight out, then that will also break it because we class it as flowing. According to Shafi fiqh, blood, pus or anything like that that comes out of the body from other than the two places does not break wuzu at all. Okay. Another thing that breaks wuzu according to us is vomiting food. Vomiting does break wuzu, sorry. Does break wuzu is vomiting food or water or a thing called ilk or alaq, blood. Yes? Or a thing called mirra, bile. Yes? Stomach acid. Stomach acid. If you vomit these, but they're a mouthful. They are a mouthful. What do we mean by a mouthful? Yeah, something that you can't suppress. We don't mean by a mouthful that, you know, your mouth takes, 2 kgs of food, right? And that comes straight out. We don't mean that. It means something that's uncontrollable. So it might just be, a small morsel of food, but because it came from the depth of the stomach, and the stomach threw it out with force, you have no control over your mouth. Yes? So it just overtakes your mouth and you have to puke it out. That's what we mean by a mouthful. Something that you have no control over. Yes? So it might be that you might be about to vomit a lot of food, but you have control over it and you suppress it. Yes? That won't break wuzu. But then on the opposite side, you might have something small in your stomach, and your stomach rejects it, and then you vomited it, but you vomited it in such a way, with such force that you have no control over it, you can't suppress it. That's what we class as a mouthful. This will break your wuzu in this case. something that you do not have control over, this will break your wuzu.
A small amount, so you burped or someone comes out, you spit out, but that's fine.
And if it's a small amount by a burp, yes, we don't class that as vomit, do we? Yes, so that doesn't break it. That does not break it. We're talking about the actual feeling of vomiting, yes, where you don't really have control over your saliva, yes, don't have really control of even drinking water at that time, yes, but it comes out with sheer force that even if you tried to suppress it, you couldn't, yes, but it's uncontrollable vomit. That was the next question. Any type of vomiting, yes, mouthful, non-mouthful, will not break your fast. Will not break your fast. Yes? Remember that.
Sorry, going back to the blood thing. If you get someone else's blood on you, does that break your fast?
No. Yes. It won't break your wuzu. Because you're not the one that was bleeding. Yes. But the blood is impure itself though. Yes. So it needs to be cleaned. Okay. The next one is if a person vomited a couple of times. So once here, small amount, something that he could suppress. Yes? So he vomited here, then he vomited there, then he vomited there. If the cause of all these different vomitings is the same, yes, foul smell, seems something really bad, yes, and when for example, a foul smell, so he smelled something really bad which made him puke up, but he only puked up a small amount which he had control over, but he let it out anyway. Then he walked along and he just couldn't get the smell away from his nose, so he puked up again, and then it happened again for the third time. If the cause is the same, yes, if we gather all of this together, if we gather all of this vomit together and say if this was to take place in one time, meaning if you was to vomit all of this out in one vomit, then it would be a mouthful, i.e. that he would not have control over it, then his wuzu will break. His wuzu will break. And this gathering of it is mentally okay. You don't have to start mopping up the floor and just a mental thing that you do this with. But if the cause is different, he saw something very disgusting and he vomited, small amount, then he walked further and he smelled something foul and he vomited again, walked a bit further and somebody punched him in the stomach and then he vomited because of that, yes, this will not break his wuzu. This will not break his wuzu because the causes of vomiting are all different and they're all a small amount and they're not mouthfuls, are they? I think it's number 5. Yes? Another thing that breaks your wuzu is if blood overcomes your saliva in your mouth. So if you are bleeding in your mouth, if the blood is more than the saliva or equal to the saliva, then your wuzu is broken. But if your saliva is more than the blood, then your wuzu is intact. You don't have to repeat your wuzu again. Does that make sense? Yeah, easy, isn't it? So, if you, for example, you're bleeding in your mouth, if you spit, if the blood looks equal to the saliva, then you can't really tell which one's overcoming the other. Is blood more or is the saliva more? Or if when you spit, if the blood is more than the saliva, it's more red than white, then in this case your wuzu will be broken. But if there's more whiteness than redness, then wuzu is intact. Another thing that breaks wuzu is for a person to be seated in such a position on the earth where his maq'ad, the place where he sits on, okay, his hips, if they are not firm to the ground, this will break his wuzu. For example, lying down, a person's hips are not firm to the ground, then are they? Yes? or he's leaning to one side, where his hips are not firm to the ground, this will break his wuzu. Another thing which breaks wuzu is a person who's sleeping. And while he's sleeping in a position, but his hips are now raised up. So person is sat on the ground, is falling, and then what happens? His hips are in the air. Yes? So for example, he's falling to the ground. Even if he wakes up before he actually falls onto the ground, if his hips have moved off the ground, his wuzu will break. His wuzu will break. Do you understand that? Just take a guy who's sat on the seat, yes? Now what's happened? He's sleeping, and then now he's falling forward. As he's falling forward, his hip is being raised off the ground. As soon as his hips come off the ground, yes, his back comes off the ground, then his wuzu is broken. If he falls or doesn't fall, that doesn't matter to us. Do you understand that? You look all confused.
What if someone like dozes off like for a second?
Yeah, this is what we mean. Yes, that he's dozed off where he's completely out of his senses, but as he's dozing off, he's just falling. But as he's falling, his hips are coming off the ground, aren't they? Yes. So if his hips come off the ground, regardless of if he falls or not, meaning before he falls, he actually wakes up, but his hips are off the ground. In this case, his wuzu will break. Yes, because the condition is his hips have to stay firm on the ground. That means if he's going to sleep like this, yes, if he just does that sway side to side, he'll come later on anyway, that's fine. Yes, but if he goes to sleep and he's like going, and he's off the seat, yes, his hips are off the ground or the chair, then his wuzu is broken. Regardless if he gets up like this and he wakes up and then he sits back down again, that doesn't matter. So the condition here is that for wuzu not to break, his hips have to be firm to the ground. Once the hips are raised, then wuzu is broken when he's completely asleep though. When he's out of his senses. For example, a person is half asleep, half awake. But he can still hear what's going on. So for example, he's like half asleep, half awake, and then he's fallen. He has fallen onto the ground. And then somebody says, oh, you broke your wuzu. He says, no, I haven't. They say, why? He says, I know exactly what you were talking about. You were talking about me. Okay? And he tells them everything that they said. Now him telling them everything that they said is a sign that he was awake. Yes? If he was asleep, then he wouldn't have known. Then in this case, wuzu will not be broken, will it? Because he was awake all along. Yes? Semi-sleeping state. Another thing which breaks wuzu is, ighma is a word which includes fainting, coma, losing consciousness, yes, all of these things. So if you faint, your wuzu breaks. If you fall into a coma, it breaks your wuzu. And if you lose consciousness, same thing as fainting, then this will break your wuzu. Another thing, insanity. If you become insane, then this will break your wuzu as well. Yes. Intoxication breaks your wuzu. Intoxication breaks your wuzu.
Is that just alcohol?
Alcohol and other things that might have intoxication in it.
Do you know, like, for example, we talk about intoxicants and other stuff, just going back to pregnant women, because they're the ones who mainly use it. You know, like gas in air and stuff in hospital.
That's from medicine, isn't it? That's completely permissible.
It can decrease your consciousness.
Yes.
Similarly, the drugs can. So in that case, if it's drug-related for medicinal purposes,
then it won't. Then it won't. Yes. This is more to do with alcohol and things like this. Yes. which are haram. But for them it won't. But if you have to understand, if it does make him lose consciousness, then it breaks wuzu anyway. Won't it? Yes? If they're in and out. And we understand even the Prophet ﷺ, when the Prophet before he ﷺ departed from this world, he was in and out of consciousness. But every time he came around, he made wudu. Yes? The Prophet made wudu as a sign for the ummah. So if those drugs take him out, the drugs themselves will break the wuzu. Yes? But the consciousness will. But here we're talking about when it's actual intoxication which they use as a pastime. Another thing that breaks wuzu is to laugh out loudly, for a mature person to laugh out loudly while awake in a prayer which has ruku and sajda. You have to understand all those conditions. So prayer which has ruku and sajda. Which prayer doesn't have ruku and sajda? Janazah doesn't have ruku. So janazah, we're not talking about janazah, we're talking about every other namaz. Yes? So a prayer which has ruku and sajda in it, for a mature person, that's all of you lot except for one or two people. Okay? If you laugh out in namaz while you are awake, this breaks your wuzu and your namaz. This breaks your wuzu and your namaz. This is one of those things that we have no idea how it breaks your wuzu. We can understand it breaking prayer, because it's against prayer, isn't it, to laugh out? Yeah? Talking, laughing, joking is against prayer. So we understand that it breaks prayer, but how it breaks your wuzu within prayer, this is not known to us, because outside of prayer you can laugh all you like and it doesn't break your wuzu. Yes? So it's slightly not logical to us, but because the Prophet ﷺ said it breaks your wuzu, then it breaks your wuzu. There's no questions on that. So look at the conditions. We said mature, because a child doesn't need to have wuzu in the first place, does he? And wakeful state. If you fall asleep in ruku and start laughing, or in Tarawih prayer and you fall asleep in Qiyam, yes, and then all of a sudden you start laughing in the middle of your prayer while asleep, yes, it won't break your namaz or your wuzu, because you're asleep, aren't you? Okay. These are the benefits of these conditions. And zati ruku'in, a prayer which has ruku and sujood, takes janazah out. So if you start laughing in janazah or namaz, it'll break your namaz, but it won't break your wuzu. Last thing he mentioned is kind of difficult. I don't know if I should mention it or not, but for husband and wife to lie down without any veil in between them, without clothes, yes? But we don't just mean lying down as well. For the private parts to meet just on the outer side, this will break your wuzu as well. This will break your wuzu. So husband and wife, for them to lie down where both private parts just meet, skin to skin contact, this will break the wuzu. Okay. We'll talk about that in ghusl later on, inshallah ta'ala. Getting angry to a point where a person doesn't know what he is doing. It's classed as insanity. This is insanity. If you don't have any idea what you're doing, not remember what you're doing, and it's such extreme anger, then this is classed as insanity. We'll send you to the doctors first though. I advise that when people come and they say, oh, I was really, really angry and I divorced my wife. Yes? I was insane at the time. Yeah, we'll send you to Lymphian Mount first. And get you checked out. If the doctors say you were sane at the time, then you're sane. Because there's no way for us to judge it. We're just going by your word, aren't we? Yes? So, yeah, people use that as excuses sometimes. We'll do the next section as well, which is 10 things which do not break wuzu.
We've got another question here. How long are you impure, not being able to read salah if you are intoxicated?
You can't pray salah.
You can't pray?
Yeah. You can't pray salah. When you're intoxicated, the level that the Quran mentions, yes, when you're totally out of it. You know, the level of intoxication that the Quran talks about is the level where the capital punishment also comes on as well. Yes? That is the level where a person can't differ between, one of the definitions is, where a person can't differ between his mother and his wife. Yes? Everything is just equal. Yes? But he still finds his way home though. Okay? That's the level we're talking about. That's intoxication. In that case, when you don't know what's what, I don't think there's not going to be a time where you're going to remember prayer as well, are you? Yes? But anything lower than that, namaz is still fard upon you and you should pray as well. Yes? That 40-day business that is in your system for 40 days, you are impure, but it's not impure enough for you to say that you can't pray your fard prayer. Okay?
Got another question here. So, when reading namaz, what ruling is for having a coat on and buttoning side zipping up?
Some ulama say it's close to a thing called sadal. Yes? Sadal is like having a cape on. Yeah? A cape, but it's not a tight cape. And it's just hanging loosely. Yes? And without it being buttoned up. This is called sadal. Or like you have a scarf and you just put it on either side. It just comes around and just both sides are dangling down. This is called sadal. According to the Hanafi mazhab, this is makruh tahrimi, and you have to repeat your prayer if you have a situation like this. The way you get around it is just to get one side of it and just turn it over your shoulder and you come out of sadal. According to some ulama, it's akin to sadal, but the truth is not akin to sadal, but just to have respect of the prayer, you should button up. Okay, zip up or button up. Tie it somehow. Yes, tie it somehow. Where it, there will be something there. I don't think I've seen a jacket where you can't. Are there any jackets like that? Tie it up somehow where you can. But it won't, if you do pray, then your prayer is done. Yes, just to have the etiquette for prayer. Even those ulama that are really strict on that, yes, even they allow it in that sense. That it's not really sadal. It doesn't come under sadal or irsal as the Shafis call it. But it's best to try to stay away from it. 10 things that don't break wuzu are for blood to appear which is not flowing. Like we mentioned before. They're just going to be the opposites of what we mentioned. For skin to come off. Oh, he says flesh here actually. For flesh to come off your body without blood flowing. He says this is called irke madani. Yes, and another name in Persian is rishta. Okay. Yuqal lahu rishta. In Persian it's called what? Rishta. I would put it akin to, is it called eczema? Yes. You can have an extreme case of eczema where people can take or peel the skin off, yes, and pieces of flesh sometimes comes off with it as well. If there's no blood, then wuzu is not broken. If blood appears, then wuzu is broken. If worms start coming out of the ears or a wound, what do you call them? Maggots. Yes? If you have an unattended wound and then fungus grows, after fungus I think maggots grow. Yes? If maggots start growing out of your wound, then this doesn't break your wuzu. Be rest assured, your wuzu is not broken. If it comes out of the ears, then this does not break your wuzu. I seen a video where a spider came out of the ear. Or was it a cockroach? Can't remember what it was. If anything like that happens, then you should see the doctor first. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said. Always, I don't know how to translate, but shake or check your bedding before you go to sleep. Yes. Flip over everything you have on your bedding and check it thoroughly before you go to sleep. If the same maggots come out of your nose, yes, it won't break your wuzu. Will not break your wuzu. Is wudu affected if one falls asleep in sujood? If a person falls asleep in ruku and sajda is going to come later on in namaz, it will not break your wudu. It will not break your wudu as long as that sajda is done upon the sunnah way for men and women. For men and women. Another thing that does not break wudu is for a person, man or woman, this is I think the cluster's 2. Yes? For a man or a woman to touch their private parts, this does not break wudu. According to Imam Shafi, it does break wudu. But according to us, it does not break wudu. To vomit less than a mouthful does not break wudu. Less than a mouthful does not break wudu. To vomit balgham. Waqai'u balgham. Same word as the Urdu. What is it? What's that? Greedy is phlegm. To vomit phlegm, even if it's a huge amount. So if you vomit phlegm, but it's forceful as well, as in that it's a mouthful. Yes, this will not break your wuzu. Why? Why doesn't it break your wuzu? Even if we said, even if it's a huge amount. Yeah, it's come from your chest. The impurity is really in your stomach. Yes, anything above your stomach is pure, so to speak, in terms of your food. Yes, and phlegm, because phlegm can be in your nose as well, can't it? Yes, and it's pure. What is it? It's pure. Yeah, Resha. Yes, it's pure. Pure in the sense that it's not impure. Okay? That if it goes on your clothes and things like this, it's not impure. This is why, because it's pure as well. If, for example, a mother or a father takes in the saliva or the phlegm of a child, it'll break their fast. It'll break their fast. Yes? But if they take somebody else's, an ajnabi person's, then according to some ulama, it won't break the fast. Because then it's vile, isn't it? Not nice. But for children, then it can be passed off because it's his own child.
You've got cold and whilst you did in the namaz, you're going to wear that up. Or you know whatever the discharge, that's pure, is it?
That's pure, yes. That's pure. Yeah.
So what should you do if you like...
Keep a tissue with you. Just hold it in your hand.
And how long can you say, how many times can you do that in one namaz?
As much times as you like when you have a need for it. Yeah. As much times as you like when you have a need for it. Okay. The 3 times is when you don't really have a need, where you can bear it. Yeah. When it's something where there's a need, you can move your hand as much times as you like.
Like turning the phone off?
No, not turning the phone off. That's not a need. Yes, you can do that slightly anyway. What's that? Yeah, with small movements. We'll cover that in namaz as well, as long as it's small movements, not two-handed, where you like, zipped up and you like, I'm taking my phone out. Yes? And then you put your hand in. That's wrong. If it's just light movement, like just that, and then you switch it off inside and then you put your hand back where it is, that's something that's acceptable. Okay? But if you start using 2 hands, or you start fidgeting with it, then it's best to just leave it. تمايل النائم إن احتمل زوال مقعد تدته. For a sleeper to sway side to side. So that he's gonna go, but then he sits up straight. Yes? Then he's going to that side, and then he sits up straight. Yes? But his hips are firm to the ground. This person's wuzu will not break, even if he's fully going to sleep. Even if he's fully asleep. So he's sat like this, isn't he? He's firm, and then he falls asleep. In this case, his wuzu will not break, even if he sways side to side, but you think he might fall. Another thing that doesn't break wuzu is for a person who's firm to the ground, whose hips are firm to the ground, and then he's leaning on something. So he's sat firm like this, but then he's leaning like this. Yes? This is permissible. His wuzu will not break, even if he completely goes to sleep. Okay? Or he sat on the chair, but he sat firmly on the chair. Sat firmly on the chair. Now, even if he goes to sleep in this position, his wuzu will not break. But what if he's doing this? This will break, will it? Because his hips are not firm onto the ground. Yes? So remember that. A lot of people miss that point. Another thing that doesn't break prayer is for a person to go to sleep in prayer while he's in ruku or sujood. But as long as the ruku and the sujood is done upon sunnah, meaning is done upon the sunnah method, not that he goes into sajda and then he lies down, that'll break his wuzu. Yes, but he does it according to the sunnah, the way where the toes are meant to be, where the hands are meant to be, and so on and so forth. If he falls asleep then his wuzu will not break. What's that? His namaz depends upon when he wakes up. Yes, and where the imam is.
And if you're reading on your own and you're dozing off to the extent where you can't keep awake,
then his prayer will be broken in that sense.
so
He's by himself then.
Praying, or do you
What's
leave
that?
it and pray later? If you can't keep awake,
If it's fard namaz, he needs to pray.
you should leave the fard and go.
Yeah, and go. And if there's any other namaz, he should just leave it, get some rest. Okay. Any questions on that? So if I give you exam at the end, you'll be able to do it. Huh? Inshallah. Shall I give you exam at the end? Yeah? Let's see what happens, inshallah. I don't normally exam my students. We ask them questions direct. Yes. One of the methods in traditional Islam is to say, this is a question, Abbas, answer it. Yes. And then Abbas has to answer it. And then we go through everybody like that. Okay. So it's on the spot. It's on the spot kind of. Yeah. Sometimes we might ask you the proofs, the evidences. So it'll be the discussion between the scholar and the student then. So yes, you've given this answer, now prove it. Okay. So then you have to prove it as well. But that's really when in a scholar course. We're not going to tell you to prove it. Yes. We'll see what happens, inshallah. Let's see. We'll stop there for fiqh. Next week we start the ghusl. Regarding ghusl. Let me see how far we get with that, inshallah. I think the clocks go back next week, but they go on Saturday night, don't they? Yeah. So I think from next week it'll be normal, and then the week after that, Isha prayer will be at 7 o'clock. Okay. But we'll discuss something regarding that, inshallah. Your sarf. So who remembers everything? Anyone? We talked about the 3 types. What were the 3 types? Anyone know? Ism, fail and harf. What were the 6 types? Sulasi mujarrad, Sulasi mazid fi, Rubai mujarrad, Rubai mazid fi, Khumasi mujarrad and Khumasi mazid fi. Then we had the 7 types. Who remembers them? I put a poem up, didn't I? Sahi asto, misal asto, muda'af, lafifo, naqiso, mahmuzo, ajwaf. Yes. And then we went through all of them, didn't we? You can open it on page 37. Just a few more terms to go through. They're really easy though. And we're not going to do all of them. I'm just going to tell you a few of them. The first one is Siga. The first one is Siga. And I'm going to use this word a lot. A Siga. And what we mean by this is a special form of a word, but in terms of its biography, if you like. Yes, it's background check. So when I say siga, there'll be a specific thing that we will refer to, and I call that the background check of that word. Yes? So it's a special form of a word. Next one is musbat. Musbat. Musbat is positive. Musbat is positive. The opposite of musbat is manfi. Yeah, positive as in something took place. Something occurred, something took place. The opposite of it is manfi. 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 Musbat. Urdu words, aren't they? Musbat ravaiya rakhna chahiye. Have a positive outlook, yes, approach. And manfi nahi rakhna chahiye. Don't have a negative approach. So what it means is that musbat, when we call something musbat, it'll mean that it's in the positive, that something took place. And the opposite of manfi, that something did not take place, didn't occur. Like for example, he did, what would that be? Musbat. And he did not do manfi, simple. Forget the fa'il, forget the maf'ul at the moment. Go to ma'ruf. Ma'ruf. Ma'ruf is when you know the person who did the action. When you know the person who did the action. For example, when I say he did, who did it? He. When I say she did, who did it? She. So he or she is known to us. As you saying, he did it, she did it. Yes? The opposite of it is majhul. The opposite is majhul. Majhul. Majhul is where the doer you don't know. The doer is unknown. For example, I say he got done. He got done. Who did him over? That's the question, isn't it? Do you know? No. But we know who the action was done upon. So for example, look, I can say he got beaten up. Yes? He got hit. So we know the person who got hit. But the doer who did the hitting action, from this sentence, do we know? No. So this sentence will be known as majhul. What will it be known as? Don't worry about it. You're going to get sick of these. They're going to keep coming. Yes? Each pattern will have these in it. And they're going to keep coming and you'll know them by the end, inshallah. Lazim, muta'addi, you can leave that. You can go towards ghaib. Ghaib is third person. Urdu word, isn't it? Yes? Ghaib. Third person. So he did, she did. Is that third person? Third person. Yes. Me and you are talking and we're saying he did. So he's the third person. Hadir. Hadir. Yeah, Hadir means present, doesn't it? Sometimes this, in some books you'll see as muhatab. Yes? Main aap se mukhatab hu. Yes? They say that, don't they? Mukhatab. It's same meaning. Second person. Second person. For example, you did. You did this. You hit. you sat, you cried. You're learning sarf. So all second person, isn't it? Then you got mutakallim. 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 First person, or we used to translate a long time ago as unisex, because it can be used for a man and a woman. Okay. Like I did, I sat, I spoke. Yes? And here you can add we to it as well. We sat, we spoke.
Does it also mean theologian?
What's that, sorry?
Does it also mean theologian?
Theologian, that's a new word.
Sorry to digress.
Okay. What does it mean?
The one who says Aqidah.
The one? Did you say theologian? Or philologian? Theologian. No, it doesn't mean that. Yeah, that's on another level. Sorry, I didn't understand what you said. A theologian we call them mutakallimin. Yes? But here, because mutakallim, because it's ilmul kalam. Yes, I tell you something else then. Ilmul kalam is based on speech, isn't it? It's based on rhetoric. Yes, you can't do diagrams, can you? Yes, of your aqidah. Yes, you can't show your aqidah. You can only express your aqidah. So the scholars of ilm kalam are known as mutakallimin because they talk a lot. Yes, that's all they do then, don't they? They debate and they talk. Yes, so that's why they call mutakallimin. So here, the mutakallim in here is called the mutakallim because he's talking about himself. He's saying, I did, we did. Okay? I taste a theologian. So that's first person, like I did, we did. Yes. Next bit. We need to know this definitely. So you got those three, they're all one. Okay. Then you got wahid, which is singular, one. For example, he did. I say to you, he did it. How much people does it represent? One. So it's singular, isn't it? Then you got tasniya. Tasniya. Tasniya is dual for two.
So they did.
Yeah, they did. But just to make it apparent, let's say something like they both did. Yes, they both did. Now this here, how many people are there? Two.
Because they can be used for more than two people.
Yeah, this is why I said they both did. You just have to make that apparent. It doesn't work in the English, but it works in the Arabic. Yes, they both did. If we say the next one is jama, plural. Yes, just to make that difference, we say they all did. They all did. They all hit. They all sat. So it's plural. So you have words which are singular, dual, or plural. We're going to put all this together. Don't worry. Okay. Last two. Muzakkar and Muannas. Muzakkar is masculine. Yes. So when I say he did, is it a man or a woman? It's a man, isn't it? And the next one is Muannas, which is feminine. So for example, if I say she did, is it a man or a woman? Female. Okay. So Muannas, Muzakkar and Muannas. Let's put all this together. All of this, let's put it together. You can turn the page to page 41. That's about 2 pages ahead. So we're going to do the first pattern now. This is what I've been promising you all that time. Right, finally there. The first pattern. I would write it on the board, but it's going to take time. So you can have it in front of you. I'll probably just write the fa'ala, but I'll write the title as well. The most important thing regarding these is learn the pattern and make sure you learn the title. Because there's going to be so many patterns and you're gonna get confused with the titles. So don't just learn the pattern off by heart. Don't just say fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna, falta, faltuma, faltum. Yes? Because you're gonna get really confused when I ask you what they are. So make sure you learn fi'l mazi, mutlaq, musbat, ma'roof. And then say fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna, faltuma, faltum. And learn it that way. Yeah? So don't just learn the pattern and leave the title. Make sure you learn both of them, because there'll be so many patterns and they'll have their own names. And what will happen, you will get confused with them. The first one is fi'l, madi, mutlaq, musbat, ma'roof. You can take all the alif lams off it. Fi'l, madi, mutlaq, musbat, ma'roof. Yes? So if you look at it, what's fi'l? What is the fi'l? A verb. What's its definition? Gives its own meaning and has one tense. Yes? Madi is past tense. What's mazi? Past tense. Yes? Mutlaq here means general past, open past, general past. Is not near future, is not future, sorry, near past, yeah, or far past. Yes? It's just anywhere in the past. That this thing happened, we're not really sure when it took place. For example, we say he did. Now when did he do? Did he just do it 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, just after he was born? Could have been done any time. So that's just general past. Then you got musbat. What's musbat? What's musbat? Think. Positive, isn't it? Yes, that it occurred. What was ma'roof?
Negative.
Right, ma'roof was negative.
Oh, sorry.
You know the doer, the person who did the action is known to you, hence you relate the action to him. Yes? That's ma'roof. So let's have a look at this. The first one is fa'ala, page 41. Fa'ala. Fa'ala. So number one is fa'ala. Now fa'ala, if you look at it, is wahid, muzakkar, ghaib. Yes? Let's have a look at it. This is what's called a siga. What's this called? Remember that first word on the top of that list that we gave you just in the previous page? Yes? I said remember this word? Siga. He said it's a special form of a word. This is a special form of a word. Yes? This is that background check. So when I say to you, what is fa'ala? What is the siga? Yes? I want this background check. Okay? So let's go through it. Fa'ala is a word, is an Arabic word. Yes? But his background check is that it's used for wahid, a singular person. This is a person who is singular, somehow you spell it. Anyway, muzakkar is what? Masculine. Yes? I'll just write male. And ghaib is third person. So we need to combine all of that in a translation. Don't we? Fa'lun means to do. Fa'lun means to do. So we have to keep an eye on that is the past tense is positive and we have to relate it to the doer, the person who did the action. Then we have to keep an eye on that person is one, he's male, and is third person. Yes? So easily translated as he did. All of that with he did. Yes? Why? Because fa'ala is he did. If you look at it, the he represents singular, the he represents male, doesn't it? And the he represents third person. Yes? The did, the verb itself, that represents the past tense. And then we've associated the did to the he. We associated the action to the he, haven't we? So it makes a ma'roof and musbat, that we proved the did for the he. Does that make sense? Yes? So it's positive sentence. is also, we know the doer, that's the he. It's past tense, the did. And it's also a verb, isn't it? Fa'ala is a verb. Yes. We also got wahid in there, which is he. We got muzakkar in there, which is he. We got ghaib, which is third person, which is he. Shall we do another example? That's the next one. Fa'ala. Fa'ala, if you look at it, is tasniya. Number 2. Tasniya, muzakkar, ghaib. Tasniya, muzakkar, ghaib. So the title stay the same. This is one pattern. Yes? But now we've added an alif at the end of it. What we added?
Alif.
I must tell you this as we go along as well. In fa'ala, there is no sign whatsoever. Just zabars on all of them, fatah on all of them. In the second one, we add an alif. The alif is a sign of tasniya. The alif is a sign of tasniya. Just the alif itself can also let you know what siga is. The alif is telling you that it's tasniya, muzakkar, ghaib. What? That is dual. What is it? Dual is male, masculine, and third person. Yes? But what's the sign for it? Alif. Alif tells you those three things. Attach this meaning to alif. Attach that meaning to alif. So when you just see alif by itself, it lets you know it's tasniya, it's masculine, and it's ghaib. What is it? Ghaib, third person. So here we'll say, they both did. They both did as in males. Okay. They both did as in males. Look at the next one. Fa'alu. Fa'alu. With waw in it. Gonna start? No, that's not.
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وصحبك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
So look at fa'alu. Fa'alu you have a waw at the end of it with a zamma before it. A waw at the end with a dhamma before it, a pesh before it. This is a sign of Jama Muzakkar Ghaib. Jama Muzakkar Ghaib. So it's plural, it's masculine, and it is third person. They all did. They all did because it's past tense as well. Yes. But here the sign is what? Waw with the dhamma before it. The alif comes and goes. The alif comes and goes in words. Okay? So we won't make the alif a sign because it comes and goes, you might get confused. But the waw with the dhamma before it is the sign of this plural in ghaib. The plural in ghaib. The next one is fa'alat. What's the next one? Fa'alat. Fa'alat here, the ta this time. The ta is the sign. The ta with the jazm on it. This is a sign of wahid mu'annas. What's the sign of? Wahid mu'annas ghaib. Wahid mu'annas ghaib. So here we'll translate as she did. She did. Then you go fa'alata. Fa'alata. Here, if you look at it, the sign is ta with the alif at the end. Ta with the alif at the end. So this will mean, remember in the back I told you alif is a sign of tasniya. So here, the ta added to it, ta is a sign of feminine, and the alif is a sign of dual, tasniya. Yes? So we'll make this tasniya mu'annas ghaib. Tasniya mu'annas ghaib. Let's go through it once and I'll show you an easy way to remember it as well. Okay? Then you go fa'alna. Fa'alna. Just the scale in itself is sufficient. Just the noon at the end, without the alif, just the noon is a sign of plural and mu'annas. Plural and mu'annas. And it is third person. Then you got fa'alta. The ta with the fatha on it with the previous letter as sakin. That's a sign of singular, masculine, but this time second person. What is it? Second person. Then you got fa'altuma. Fa'altuma. Fa'altuma, here the sign is tuma. Tuma. The ta and the mim are a sign of a being second person, but the alif is a sign of dual. The alif is a sign of dual. But if you look further down, fa'altuma comes twice, okay? So it's a sign of tasniya muzakkar hazir and also tasniya mu'annas hazir. Tasniya mu'annas hazir. So they're the same really. What are they? The question might arise, how do I know then? When it comes in Arabic, how do I know? That's by the context. Yes? That's by the... Look, if I say, you did this. Yes? You did it. Now here from you don't understand, is it a male or a female? Who are we talking about? Yes? Meaning the third person wouldn't know. So here is by the context. As who I am referring to as you. Yes? So when the context happens, fa'altuma is tasniya muzakkar hazir and also tasniya mu'annas hazir. So by the context of the Arabic language, you'll understand which one it fits. Then you got fa'altum. The tum here is a sign of jama. But jama muzakkar hazir, as opposed to the waw in the starting of muzakkar. Then you got fa'alti. The ta zirti. The ta with the kasra underneath it. This is a sign of wahid mu'annas hazir. Then you go fa'altuma again, we've already done that. Then you go fa'altunna. Here the tunna. This is a sign of jama mu'annas hazir. Jama mu'annas hazir. Then the last two really easy. Fa'altu, you have the tu here. Fa'altu. the ta with the zamma on it is a sign of wahid mutakallim. Wahid there's no masculine or feminine here. Yes? So we'll just say wahid mutakallim. And then you have the fa'alna, the noon with the alif at the end of it. This is a sign of jama mutakallim. Jama mutakallim. These are 14 words. How many? 14 words. And you have to learn them off by heart. Okay? So for example, fail, mazi, mutlaq, musbat, ma'ruf, fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna, faltuma, faltum, falti, faltuma, faltunna, fa'altu, fa'alna. Yes? And the reason I do that, if you once you learn it off by heart, we'll give you other words. For example, daraba, 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 darabu, darabat, darabata, darabna, darabta, darabtuma, darabtum, darabti, darabtuma, darabtunna, darabtu, darabna. You can do nasar on it. Nasara, nasara, nasaru, nasarat, nasarata. You see the fa and lam kalma changes, but the endings, the alif came, yes, the waw came, the ta came, the ta and the alif came. Yes, all those signs that I mentioned, they stay the same. So if you look at it, if I read it with nasara, 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 nasaru, nasarat, nasarata, nasarna, nasarta, nasartuma, nasartum, nasarti, nasartuma, nasartunna, nasartu, nasarna. Yes, the signs are still there for you to know. But how I want you to learn it as well is learn it first going down. So you say fail, mazi, mutlaq, musbat, ma'ruf, and then say fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna, faltuma, faltum, falti, faltuma, and go down it that way. And then learn it another way, and that is a fail, mazi, mutlaq, musbat, ma'ruf. Fa'ala, siga wahid muzakkar ghaib. Fa'ala, siga tasniya muzakkar ghaib. Fa'alu, siga jama muzakkar ghaib. Fa'alat, siga wahid muannas ghaib. Fa'alata, siga tasniya muannas ghaib, and go all the way down it. Yes? So that you know the background check of every single word. But to make life easy, there's a pattern. The fa'ala will be easy because you're going to learn that separately, aren't you? Yes? If you learn that separately, that's easy. But how do you learn the rest of it like wahid muzakkar ghaib? If you take a look at it, look at the first column where it says number. It goes in order. You're always going to get wahid tasniya jama. What are you going to get? Wahid tasniya jama. So when you're doing the first three, the next three will be wahid tasniya jama again. So if you number them, fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, that's 1, 2 and 3. That will be wahid tasniya jama. Then the next three is wahid tasniya jama. Then the next three after it are wahid tasniya jama. And then the next three after it are wahid tasniya jama all the way till the 12th one. The last two are just wahid and jama. They're the odd ones out. Yes? If you look at the gender, you will see here another pattern. The first three are masculine, muzakkar, then is feminine, then is masculine, then is feminine all the way down to the 12th one, and then the last two are mutakallim. Last two are mutakallim. And if you look at the first person, second person, third person, there's a pattern in that as well. The first six are all third person. The 6 after it are second person hazir, and the last two are the odd ones out, mutakallim. Yes? To make life easy for you, they fit on your lines of your fingers. Yes? 3 lines on each finger, aren't there? Except for your thumb. Keep that as 2. Okay? Fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna, faltuma, faltum, falti, faltuma, faltunna, faltu, fa'alna. I did it wrong. Fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna. Yes? Fa'alta, fa'altuma, fa'altum, fa'alti, fa'altuma, fa'altunna, fa'altu, fa'alna. Yes? It fits. So the first one you'll know is as wahid muzakkar ghaib, tasniya muzakkar ghaib, jama muzakkar ghaib, wahid muannas ghaib, tasniya muannas ghaib, jama muannas ghaib, wahid muzakkar hazir, tasniya muzakkar hazir, jama muzakkar hazir, wahid muannas hazir, tasniya muannas hazir, jama muannas hazir, wahid mutakallim, jama mutakallim. Yes? Does that make life easy? If you work out the pattern, the more you repeat it, you'll work out the pattern as well. Yes? In terms of the wahid tasniya jama, how it repeats. the gender of how that repeats. First 3 are muzakkar, second 3 are mu'annas. Then it goes back to first 3 muzakkar, then the next one as mu'annas, and the last 2 other odd ones out. And then in terms of the person, then the first 6 are ghaib, the second 6 up to number 12 are hazir, and the last 2 are the odd ones out. I'm going to test you on this next week. I'm going to give you words from the Quran, directly from the Quran, and I want you to tell me the siga. Yes? Yes? Can you do that? Inshallah. Don't worry, it's easy. This you only have to learn it once. This wahid muzakkar ghaib, tasniya muzakkar ghaib, jama muzakkar ghaib, learn it once, right? This same pattern, this scale that we've given you, the gender, the person, the number, for the rest of the patterns that we're going to do, yes, the different patterns we're going to do, it stays the same. The word in the starting might change, but the pattern stays the same. For example, I can give you a gardan called yaf'alu. Okay? Yaf'alu, yaf'alani, yaf'aluna, tafalu, tafalani, yaf'alna, tafalu, tafalani, tafaluna, tafalina, tafalani, taf'alna, af'alu, naf'alu. 14 words again. Totally different scale, isn't it? Yes? This one has a ya in the starting, yaf'alu. It's got a ya in the starting, but you know what? Yaf'alu is still wahid muzakkar ghaib. Why is it? Wahid muzakkar ghaib. And like that you just go through all 14 of them. So learn this once and your job for the next 32 weeks is done. Okay? Your job for the next 30 odd weeks is done, because that's all we're going to do. Yes? So inshallah for next week, the person who memorizes it can stand up and read it out as well. Inshallah. Yes?
To get a prize.
The person who doesn't memorize it gets a prize. What is that?
Who doesn't memorize it?
What they used to do? Make you whole can? Cooker. In traditional madrasas, they make you a chicken. We won't be doing that though. Inshallah, we stop there. It's a lot to take in, but the more you ponder on it, the more you read it to yourselves, inshallah ta'ala, it will open up to you.